Welcome to the Hard Rap Cafe. I'm your host, Rocky Dennis. On this week's episode, I'll be interviewing General Germ as we discuss his musical journey and background and the formation and evolution of Nova. Also, Germ's journey from gangsta music as well as reflecting on lost friendships. In addition to Germ's music career evolution, we'll discuss Virginia hip-hop regional identity, as well as some of Germ's latest projects, album brand, and promotion. So tune in as we tap in with General Germ.
Still I persevered, kept my nose to the grind, ear to the street. With 10 toes down, you would swear I had cleats.
Welcome to Hard Rap Cafe, man. My man, General Germ, aka Killer Germ. Welcome to Hard Rap Cafe, man. How you doing?
I can't complain, you know, I'm chilling. I'm trying to make it another day. What's happening with it, Kinfolk?
Man, just in here trying to get into some things, man. You know, I've been trying to get you on thinking about, you know, getting at you to put you on the platform for a minute. So I'm glad we was able to connect. So I want to start, you know, for people who don't know you yet, how would you describe who you are? You know, and what your music represents for those of us that, you know, might not know you.
So, like I said, I know a soldier for life. Like I say, a dynasty raider, you know, terrorism float. Like that's it started off a long time ago. Like I said, that's freestyling. I say 88, so you know that's where the competitiveness came from. But I say start going to the studio and stuff by like 92. You know, that's when, you know, and the group started writing verses, remembering verses, and going to studios and stuff like that. And we just always, we came from battle. We came up battle rapping. Not like how these new dudes do be pausing on stage, no beats and all that. We just walk up on anybody battling niggas, you know, me, Mike, Miles, Wook, and Pooh. We used to do that.
So take me back, man, you know, to your birthplace and, you know, how it was coming up there.
Yeah, this birthplace, that's a crazy story. Because you see, my mom had me when she was in college and shit down there in Atlanta.
Oh, but shit, okay.
I only spent 2 weeks down there, though. She sent me to my grandmother and my aunt to Waterloo, Iowa. And, you know, I was the only baby around there at that time. But like I said, come to 85, my mama get a job in Newport News at the YWCA. So her and my stepfather, they moved August of 85. Christmas Eve 85, you know, they came and got me. You know, because they wanted me to wait the Christmas break so they could transfer me to schools and all that. And Christmas Eve 85, I got the Newport News. Got off at that Greyhound when it was home. Up there behind New Market Mall, by the flea market.
So Atlanta, Iowa, and then Newport News. So you spent basically your childhood coming up in Newport News. And what was it like during that time?
The first 2 years that came from, it was cool because we was uptown on J. Clyde out Candlewood, you know. But then, you know, my sister was born. But then, you know, my sister there, you know, you got to think 86, 87, you know, that cocaine, that crack got to him. You know, shit got fucked up. We got evicted from up there, but he called to play out Brookridge on Peninsula Drive. And we moved out Brookridge. And that was in October 88. I was 9 years old when I got to Brookridge. Soon as they changed the name to Brookridge.
So that would be in Newport News, Virginia, Brookridge, right?
Yeah, sir.
So
across the street from Woodson, next to Newsom Park.
Okay, to be exact. So who was some of the local influences, you know, at that time or just period in the city that inspired you, you know, early on?
Okay, I got to love. Because I don't want to forget nobody. But no, first it was the Fifth Squad as a whole. But that was Rozelle, that was Wook and Pooh, Big Brother, and his homeboys. But Rozelle ain't rap, Jermaine Robinson rap. Lottie and Grimace was the rappers. So them the first ones, and they used to battle. Then it was them first. Then I had to say You know, Swilly Dex, Manziel, Hot Sheets, Turner, Quasimodo, Solo, The Real Poochie, Dolo. That's just the name of the ones that's off the top of my head. I mean, just remember, I know more gonna come to me. And everybody was a few years older than this.
So let me ask you this. Who is Nova? Where did Nova come from and what does it stand for?
Well, originally, at first, we was the Crook Ridge Bandits, you know what I'm saying? We was sitting on Mike Mountain Open Line, we was sitting on Wookie and Poo Porch out Brook Ridge. And Mike Myers came up with it. He said, man, we gonna be Nova. I don't know where he gonna say Nova. What you mean? Because you know, we won't even hit the supernovas at that time.
Right.
Like, Nova, niggas out of Virginia. And we said, oh shit, like, that shit hard as hell. So, you know, we started running with that. And at that time, that's when we ran across we ran across South Male Black, cool ass New York nigga. And that's when we put, yeah.
So Nova consisted of who? Who was a part of that movement, you know, early on, or, you know, how did y'all,
It was
me,
Mike Myers, Wookie, and Pooh. Y'all know him as Jackpot and Felon.
Okay.
It was us.
Okay, so early on, you got you, Mike Myers, Jackpot, and Felon that formed Nova. Now, eventually, y'all would gain more members. How did that come about, and who were those guys?
The way that happened when we was rapping with Sean, you know, we started going to Timmy Bill's studio. And man, once Will knew we was going to the studio, you know, Will just came and put his hands on the goddamn group. And then, you know, he kind of took the shit over and goddamn Dex came with him. But Shaw was still there. You know, Dex was creeping his way in. And then when Rozelle died, that's when Dex stepped all the way in. And they, you know, that's when they stamped it as Nova. Because we was Nova. But you know, we was still running around battling. We won't necessarily saying Nova yet. You know what I'm saying? It was just a name. By the time Rozelle died and Dex stepped in, because Rozelle died in 94, April 94. So that's when Dex stepped in.
Where did the name Killer Germ come from? Was that your first stage name or rap name? Was it Killer Germ? How did that come about?
That's the same one of my baby pictures, and my mama put the Germ on it. Except she spelled it with a J. Dexter seen the baby picture and said, "No, you Killer Germ. Well, we gonna do it with a G." Dexter.
What were some of the earliest memories of, you know, the records that y'all were making at that time? And where did y'all record at?
We was recording, cause like I said, the first place I remember recording at was Timmy Bill's studio out in Hampton. Shamel Black was taking us there. That's when we was seeing Charles Barlow and all of them. They was in there recording their first records and all that type thing. That's when, like I said, I ran across Danger, you know, and Red Alert and all of them. I remember that. We was making songs like, how can I say, Arms of a Killer and man, I can't even remember some of them names, you know what I'm saying? It's been so long ago. There was a time when we thought we was on already. We was in the studio and we was rapping and we was sitting around the bigger guys, you know what I'm saying? It was fond memories.
So was it anybody making noise in the city musically at that time that you remember, as far as other crews or groups or anybody that y'all would hear about or music that you would hear?
Like I said, we knew about Charles Barlow and them. We was hearing rumblings of the B-Nets, but we knew Quasimodo and them, the Rail and Poochie and them, we knew them. They was the ones making it. Said High Seas Turner was doing it, Manziel was doing it too. And like I said, the Fifth Squad, Lottie and Grunt, the whole little thing, like I said, and I knew Infrared, like I said, then we ran across Danes and like I said, we was the ones making noise, for real. I mean, them names I was naming, but you know how once we got with Shamel and then Dexter came, the spotlight kind of got on us because, you know, Dexter and Swill, they had other ways of getting to the money. You know?
Right, definitely.
So,
yeah, I definitely heard stories. So You say you heard at that time the Born Nats. What about Crew Thick? What part did they play as far as, the influence or any type of dealings with Crew Thick? How did that go?
Now, how that went, like I said, our Brook Ridge News Pocket was, there ain't nobody had no jobs. You know what everybody was doing.
Right.
First time I heard about E and Rock was when Square was battling that New York dude named CD. And then we'll see him out there, and it seemed like Troy Kessmore already knew him. I can't forget about Troy Kessmore, because he was around back then too. Troy Shaw was around there too. See, that's why I say I gotta remember the name. And Troy was part of Crew Thick. And then Dexter, like I said, Dexter, like, man, I ain't tripping off them. He ain't even really, we could rap for him on the block, but he ain't really, what it really want, he was mad at it. He was kind of jealous of Plex. You know what I'm saying? Because Dexter had the money, but Plex he was known for being a producer. So Dex was so cool with that. so Dex was doing the production on your side? And Samuel Black. And Sam, both of them were. Because they were starting. Whoop and Poo, Jackpot and Felon was starting. They were starting, but they weren't there yet.
Now, during the time period, there were some members that were lost. Can you touch on that, a little bit, and how did that affect you?
First one was Razel. You have to think, his little sister was playing with my little sister upstairs when we got the call when Razel got killed. And then, like I said, then that summer, I seen the first body when Steve got killed out in Noosa Park. That kind of made us cold, but we kept rapping. We was still little, but that's when the smoking and drinking started. That's when we first started carrying the little pistols and shit. Then my dad died, my stepdad died March 1st, and then I think Dex died March 9th. And everything changed after that. It won't no little bullshit no more. And we can, it seemed like niggas was fucking with the other side. The one, it was like, we was losing. So, we was the first ones. I can't speak on, I got scared. I picked up the strap and I started coming at that motherfucker. I jumped off the porch. I realized when that's that, I ain't care about rapping for real. I loved it, I kept doing it. That one, I felt like my whole safety net was gone. Straight the fuck up.
Kevin Swilling, aka Bloody Red, Born Malin. How did his passing affect you?
Yeah, with that made me feel a certain way. But at the same time, I got to hear a lot of the music he was doing. I got to see him before, but I felt like in some ways a lot of people were happy he was gone. Other people was happy he was gone. Because, like I said, he was our answer. I'm talking about, how Crew Thick had Bubba Chuck. That was our Bubba Chuck. You see what I'm saying? So, when he went, that like I said, that was the last struggle. Niggas really jumped out the window. I was already getting locked up, doing little dumb shit, catching my little charges up. But when he died, I had just came home from upstate, and I was in shock how Nova had grew to such a big ass number in just 14 months. We went from lost Dex to drop down to 5, caught Fat Lou and Ryan Fiend. Then I go upstate, I come home. We look like the Wu-Tang now.
Right. So how long did you sit down for?
The first juvenile bit, little 14 months.
I know that some of the recordings were done on 47th Street with at Mike Chester's studio downtown, and what was that like, man? During that time.
No, cause see, at that time, like I said, that's when we was young wolves, and like I said, the MCs we was around, every last one of them had different styles, and that kind of helped form our different styles. Being around so many different MCs at that time, I'm talking about tough people, you know what I'm saying? That was a time, it was real to real. It wasn't like the digital jam. You had to come in there on point with your raps, you know what I'm saying? And it was, that was the first time older MCs treated us like equals. Like I said, we ain't never get treated like the little dudes. It was always embraced, but it was always competition. It won't that kumbaya rapping. Not Newport News and Hampton. Not at that time. Everybody thought they was the best, so their crew was the best. That was the high school times. Like I said, Don Fuquan. I was in the ninth. Don Fuquan we was going to war together. He was in the 10th. He didn't know how I got them. We used to class in that hallway. I mean, like I said, even DX and them, we done ran across in the streets. But like I said, the thing I say, Mike Myers, Jackpot, and Felon, they was spending more time in the studio than I was. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd be on the run. I'd be locked up. Them niggas, they was more known for the studio junk. I was getting known for running around battling, and then when I finally make it on the song, stuff like that. But I was making my name, I hate to say it, through the juvenile systems in the high schools.
I want to get into the Fat Joe situation, and when he would come, a time that he came to Virginia, and Nova encountered him. Do you recall that time in that situation?
Yeah. It's very vividly, because it wasn't even all Nova. It was me, Jack Black, and our big homie goddamn Calhoun.
Okay.
We came from the Polo Outlet, Timberland Outlet. We went and did a little summertime thing. We riding around, and somebody say, come to ASU. No, we just pull up at ASU. We just going out ASU, because it's the end of the summer. The college kids coming back and all that. Around their homecoming time. So we sliding out there. We see Bubba Chuck and them. We pull over there. They got the yellow Bentley and the dark blue junk parked out there. But Fat Joe with these niggas. So we pop up. You had to think we down bad. We in the Cutlass. It got beat up, but this one ain't got no paint on it or nothing. But niggas clean. Put it like this. We out there strapped and everything. This in the 90s. So Calhoun got a joint on him. I got a joint on him. Jack got a goddamn boat 8,500 on him. And these niggas want to rap. But right. They just gonna play with Fat Joe like Flat Joe, and these people's gonna flex on us. Cause it right. Ain't Mike Myers. It ain't Ram Fiend.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They thinking, man, ask them niggas what happened. Straight the fuck up, tell them New York niggas ass the fucking, you know what we did. You know the assignment. They geek, they like, come on, they about to go to Club Shadows or somewhere across the water. They like, come on, follow us.
Fat Joe, will never forget that. I heard him mention something about his, that trip to Virginia, and on that show I think he got with Jada. He talked about a time when he was in Newport News. So now you would go on to form Hella Hungry. How did that come about? Was that done in your time in Virginia before you would eventually move from there, or when did that come about? That's
a prison baby. That was a prison dream. Came across in prison. Cause you had to think, before I even I got locked up in February 2002. I got locked up after that. Whatchamacallit. And when I was locked up, because even before then, I only had like 1 or 2 solo songs. You know what I'm saying? I was used to being a Nova nigga. I used to be in a group. Only time I used to write 32s to battle folks, but songs, I always wrote verses. I started writing solo songs. I used to write it on the back of my PSI. I could look, if I was at the crib, I could show you my PSI. I could show you my paperwork with Ram written on the back.
Right. So what is your formula when it comes to that, like making records? Do you like to have I know in this instance you're talking about you couldn't have no beat, but like far as what you like do you like to have a beat first, or do you come up with, a hook idea? How does that go when you creating your records?
Put it like, if I'm at work, I don't need no beat. I can make the hook. I can write it in my head until I can do it like that with no beat. But if I got a beat, all I gotta do is like the beat and it's gonna start. Sometimes I start with the hook. If it's that type of beat, I can start with the hook. But usually if I don't know the hook, I start with the verse. And then by the time I write the first verse, I already know what the hook gonna be.
You had you know, crew members, man, that we all love, that passed away. So I want to give a rest in peace to Felon, man. How did that affect, you know, I know that was a tough blow, but, you know, personally, how did you, you know, cope with that, man?
Yeah, I remember because when I called home, I was calling to tell my mama that they had put a hold on me because I was supposed to come to because that was in June. I was supposed to come to the halfway house in July. But
Mm-hmm.
Newport News put a hold on me because I was supposed to come to the halfway house July 2004. I was supposed to, but I called home. My baby mama was there. My daughter's mom, she was there. She answered the phone and she said, Wookie dad. I said, what? I said, Whoopie dad. You talking about Whoopie from downtown? Because you know she from downtown. She from 25th Street. I
Right.
said, what, Whoopie dad? No, she said, Wookie dad. You know, I flip out. Man, bitch, stop now, because I wasn't fucking with her at the time. She was just up here with my daughter. I snap on her, hang up the phone and everything. I called back in 30 minutes. My mom on the phone, she like, hey, Wookie dad. And they said, he killed himself. And I'm like, he killed himself. They found his body on Roselle grave site. I said, oh, man, what? And, you know, and I'm sitting there, and he did it on my sister's birthday, June 4th, 2004. Man, I had to go on my little goddamn June. That was the first time I remember goddamn crying like that. I'm talking
But
about what being locked up. I ain't come home to July 2005. Newport News gave me an extra year.
damn. Yeah, that was a tough one, man. Definitely rest in peace to the homie, man. Good brother, man. Mad love and respect for Felon, man. You know, now it was a situation that happened when we lost another one of our brothers. Without getting into any specifics, I really just want to know your feeling, how you felt behind the passing of Rasan and some of the things that you know that you haven't really been able to. You might not have got off your chest for people to know, man, how you was feeling. Really doing the aftermath of that, you know, without getting into too much details. Can you, you know, can you touch on any of that?
First off, let me say, goddamn, R.I.P. to my brother Rock. That boy, when that's it, dad, that's who put me under his arm. That's like I said, out of the, that was my real bridge to Crew Thick. That's how I found out about Mama J. You know what I'm saying? I
Right,
met everybody. We talking about the Crew Thick side, the ones I didn't know. It was
right,
Rasan. You had to think. Like I said, when I got on the run, after that's that I got on the run. I was staying at Rasan's house. I was working. He put me on my feet. He the one,
right,
like that was my brother. He had me around Fat Kenny. He had me around Calhoun. He had me around Man Thomas. That's why I was on the run out Brook Ridge. I was under his umbrella. I got shit. He the one I got to work from when I got took off to in
right.
95. You know?
Yeah,
Like I said, that was my brother. And like I said, then you know, I moved out there. When I came home, I did a little locked up or something. When I came home, my mom moved out Randall. You know, they was staying out Bellwood, so it was right back, you know, we was right back in the thick of things. But Iverson was starting it, because this 95 turning into 96. Iverson train starting to move. So, you know, he was with that. And
right,
then, you know, life kept going. But every time he came back, he the one that come to 76th Street. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
Come look on around with us. Like, you know what I'm saying? He'll come back to the city like, man, I'm coming to hang with y'all. And I'm coming to drink up all y'all beers.
right, right.
Understand me?
Yeah, man. Yeah, so y'all was very close, man.
They know I love Rock. And it was a bad situation. It was how it went down, it was real crazy. Because it wasn't intended to go like that on no parties involved. That
Right,
wasn't supposed to happen. I don't know
right,
about the pain. I can't explain how they knew each other. But like I said, it just went down the wrong way, and I wish it didn't. But on the other hand, I ain't like how people blame me for it or try to say I would line my brother up. I really had to line somebody up. I ain't never had to line nobody up. If it was gonna happen, it was gonna happen. That
Right.
and if I could have stopped it, I would have stopped it.
Definitely.
And I should have stayed there. I should have stayed with his ass. Fuck the police, fuck going to jail. I should have stayed there with my son. That was the most whole shit I ever did in life. Being scared of jail. Thinking I'm gonna go to jail. I should have stayed with my home. That's my biggest regret in life. I should have stayed there with my son. And they ain't never gotta forgive me for that because I ain't never forgave myself for leaving my brother.
And then, most recently, Rhyme Phenomenal, Rhyme Fiend, man, incredible, man, person, lyricist, just individual, who passed recently. We know the most recent loss, as far as Nova, and the crew, man. Like, I was, it hit me, out of nowhere. How did you find out about that, and what was going through your mind when Rhyme Fiend passed away, man?
Yeah, you had to think. I met Ryan Fiend, and I was 13 years old when I met Ryan Fiend. I met that nigga. We was in Doris Miller dance troupe and shit. He was rapping there too. Ryan Fiend was rapping there. It was Ryan Fiend. Yeah. But like I said, about 95, once Bookie and Pooh moved out Hampton, after Dex died, Ryan Fiend and Luke, they became Nova. They was the first Hampton, they became Nova. And Ryan Fiend, good grinding dude. Like I said, that was my guy. And then he was there that day with the Rosson thing. Ryan Fiend was in the car. Ryan Fiend was in the car with me. That shit kind of shook him. And then, like I said, a few months later, I got snatched up. And I ain't talked to him again until I came home in 05. And I was for a shock, but I remember talking to him specifically like 07, because he was telling me who not to fuck with down there, as he was drinking and all that shit. And I found out through Facebook, I ain't really believe it. So I called Lil Jamie. Right before I called Lil Jamie, Terry, his big brother called me and confirmed. And they said he drunk himself into depression. And I'm like, damn, maybe because niggas squashed his goddamn dreams and shit like that.
That was a tough time, man. And I'm glad to be able to speak to you, and get your thoughts and feelings, on that, because, to hear you, on what your feelings were, man, that shit means a lot. So I want to get into moving to Ohio, and, what was that like, and when did you first touch down in Ohio?
Well, like I said, I got told once I knew they sent me back to Virginia to do the last year. So I do the last year, locked up down that jump. And I get the interstate. I already had the feds transfer me to Ohio because my mom moved up here in 2001, even before Lopez passed away. She moved up there that July of 2001, her and my little sister. Cause my little sister wanted to stay down there with me. She like, I only got 2 more years. I'm like, no. I can feel the temperature in there. I'm like, no, you can't stay with me. I ain't stable enough. You gotta go up there with your mama. I'm happy I did that. But I get transferred up here. But I gotta rewind the story. When I was at Elkton, Ohio, when I was out here in the feds, cause they sent me out here. That's where I started my time up. I run into a dude named Carl D. Collins. And how he ran across me, because I was battling out there. I was battling for books and stamps and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, at that time, niggas was fucking with me, but I knew the wounds were still fresh, and I was just locked up, you know what I'm saying? So I had to work, I had to live off the land, you know what I'm saying? So I was in the Virginia car. Once they heard me rap, it started going. You know what I'm saying? He said, damn, he got them want some books off him. Carl wants some books off him. He come to me, he said, where you from? I said, Newport News. He said, damn, my sister lived down there. My sister stayed down there. He said, his nephew went to Hines back in the day. I said, all right. I said, but so, I ain't going back down there. I'm going to Toledo, Ohio. Guess what that nigga say? Nigga, that's where I'm from. He's trying to be, a producer and put his little production company together. And his little, nephews could rap too. So, I'm like, all right, when I get out, I'm here. I was supposed to come home. He came home that February. I thought I was going to come home that July. Boom. No, because I'm lying. I was 04. He got out in 03. I was supposed to come home that July because they transferred me to another compound. But then they got hit with that year. But he stayed in contact with me. The first day out, that nigga came to my mom's crib and came and got my motherfucking ass. To put it like this. By that time, I had too many raps, too many songs, concepts. Hella Hungry was already, like I said, but look, whatchamacallit? Except for they was just gonna be mixtapes. I wasn't thinking about labels. But when I got out here, he took me to a few producers. Like I said, he took me to a few producers, but I stuck with one nigga from the north side named Keno Islands. He took me there, we locked in, and he was like 7 years older than me, about Roselle and them age. He whatchamacallit. He was like, he didn't really understand mixtapes. At that time, he didn't understand the porno. So he said, man, let's do an album. And I said, all right. I thought it was still gonna be a mixtape. When we went out to the studio, laid the John structures, and it started from there. The first album, the one and only. And then it started from there. I started making the buzz around here. Started making a name for myself because the old heads up here, my old heads, they the same way. Man, tear his head off. But man, they gonna make you. They gonna say, I got a nigga you can't fuck with. They quick to do this shit up here. Hey.
Was this the time that Yo Skeety Mane was born, or General Germ? How did these names come about from Killer Germ? So you were Killer Germ. And then I started seeing Yo Skeety Mane.
No, the Skeety Mane came. Shout out to Potty B. Shout out to Potty B. He put me on with that Pootie Tang movie.
Right. Oh, so Skeety Mane came from Pootie Tang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you put my whole name together, Jermaine, Germ in the front, Maine. So I just put Yo Skeety in there. That's all. But it was a joke. But when I went to prison, I put it in the bottom. I'm like, that shit sound hard. And I just ran with it. And
yeah, that's crazy, man. I didn't know that.
The Pootie Tang. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we have General Germ, which I see now. When was that, put into play?
It was this guy. He was what they call him? He was a VJ up here. His name Andre Savage. When that's at the time when I was doing the late great thing. We was recording over here in this little studio across the jump from the YMCA over here on the north side. And them niggas started, because they see how fast they were seeing how fast I was writing rhymes in the studio. Like, I hit the beat, now write the song right there. He said, man, that's General Germ. They starting and I put it in the rhyme. And that's the same time, around the time I made the Why I Still Got For This Germ. And there, because they wanted it, they said, tell a story about, and the story. Back then, that's when the General came. Because once they heard, that's what, and I'm like, yeah, with the Germ, Yo Skeety Mane, you got whole thing Skeety Mane, or you got grandstand Germ. Because the Killer Germ, it was starting to sound too old. You know what I'm saying? I was starting to be too old to still be the Killer Germ.
Right. No, that's real, man. And as far as marketing, it's genius. Where do you see yourself in the lineage of Virginia hip hop or hip hop period? Like, where do you see yourself when when you hear names such as Pusha T or, Timbaland and these guys, and any artists that, in your era have been doing their thing, where do you see yourself amongst, individuals like that?
I mean, I ain't gonna say, I ain't gonna compare myself to them boys. Them boys just did a show at the Valley.
Right.
It's like,
Well, I'm speaking
but
more
no,
musically, like.
I Pusha T and Malice, missing them, they did a lot for, but no, I ain't, they ain't feel like us. Even with Pusha T and them, they ain't, but they, like I said, they from Virginia Beach, so I can't expect them to do it like the Peninsula. Like the brothers from over there across the water or other states, because technically I ain't from Virginia. Just a certain aggression that I ain't hear other places. Even
Right.
Richmond, that's like, no offense to nobody, I ain't never look at us as the DMV. You see what I'm saying?
I feel the same way, bro. That's a term that I never. Now I understood why they made it. That's Northern Virginia. That's Northern Virginia. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Northern Virginia. I lived in D.C. For years in Maryland. You know what I mean. So I know about all of that. But the DMV was a term that I started hearing. And it's been for a while, but it's really more recent times that they kind of just blended that, and we never really attached to that, especially where we from.
I was about to say, I'm like, I ain't even never heard Rich. I mean, I understand the demographic because they don't want to be looked at as Southern.
Right.
I understand. They like that's our region. But the Tidewater, no, we ain't never.
Man,
really
let me tell you something, man. The DMV is where you get your goddamn license at. That's
man. That's where you get the Department of Motor Vehicles, man. You understand me?
I'm sorry, man. Like, respect to the brothers, you know what I'm saying, up in DC, man, and Northern Virginia, and you know what I'm saying, Baltimore, and all of that. I got nothing but love. I ran them fucking streets, man. I lived there, you know what I'm saying. I got a great connection, but that term, man, when they tried to blend everything in with it, I just didn't really get with that. Now, let me ask you, what's the realest thing you ever rapped about?
Realest thing I ever rapped about.
Because your music a lot deals with life, man, and just a lot of situations, man. Anything that you can just put your finger on that this was, you know what I mean?
I could say something cliche, and it only happened, I want to say, last year, the year before, when I wrote a song about my mama. Hey, the realest jump. Now,
Yeah.
that's the one. That's the way I feel. But that's But if the street shit, I mean, take that with a grain. I can't really say.
Who is the most underrated artist in the 757, man? Who is the most underrated artist in the 757?
Underrated?
Yeah. Who don't get the props that they.
Time frame you talking about?
I'm talking about the time frame of, man, from then to now.
I don't know none of them now.
Okay, well, from our eras then, you know what I'm saying? From the era that you know what I mean, was coming up with. Yeah, underrated.
The most that was vicious with the bars.
Yeah.
I say Man's Ears. Free Man's Ears. Man's Ears Givens.
Okay.
Man, Raider, I'm talking about, like, because he was in the streets for real. But if you hit it, I had to say Man's Ears. But another name that I'll hear people saying up, Quasimodo.
Now, let me ask you this. Who is your Bad Newz top 5, man? MCs, man.
Now, my Bad Newz, I ain't got a Bad Newz top 5. They my top 5, period. Swear, Abu the Butcher.
Okay.
Quasimodo.
Okay.
Ryan Fane.
Okay.
And Otis Felon.
Man, that's a crazy list, bro. That's tough right there. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's a crazy list right there. I'm with that. Man, R.I.P., man. If you could, is there anybody that you would love to make a record with? You know what I'm saying? That that comes to mind. Whether it's, locally or, you know what I mean, Anybody, bro. Who would you like to do some shit with?
Oh, Lord, shit. That's a good question because it's a lot. But I say Scarface. On a major jump, Scarface. Locally, The Horseman.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard it's a group popping up called The Horseman.
Yeah, I think I heard something about that too, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Scarface and The Horseman.
Now, what's the biggest misconception about you, man, as an artist? Or maybe, the biggest thing that you think people might think one thing and it ain't that, or, that they don't know when it comes to General Germ, man, as an artist?
I'm a lot more easier to work with than I appear.
Okay. All right. I dig it. You know what I mean? So finish this sentence for me, man. Virginia hip hop artists don't get enough love because
It's a dog-eat-dog world. Everybody want to be top of the food chain. And ain't no unity. It ain't enough collaboration.
the moment I knew I had to rap was when.
When my mama said Wookie died.
Okay. One thing I'll never compromise in music is.
I ain't letting nobody write no whole song for me.
So yeah, that's a great point, bro. Like, so what do you? So I guess that really tells me how you feel about that. Because nowadays, they'll paint the narrative of it's the finished product, man, and that's what we're going towards, man. From the era that you from, how is that looked upon? It's interesting that you said that. Like, it's hit records and shit, and they come about how it is machine or whatever. How do you feel about that, bro?
Honestly, I feel good about it. I can see checks in my future. I'm gonna write them rounds for them niggas that feel like that. I'm from an era that, if you got the hook, say you got the hook, there it go. If you got a concept and you got the hook already, yeah. But I can't. No, I could write. Yeah, I could give it to somebody else. But me, I prefer. If I'm gonna say it, it gotta come out my hand. So I know most likely that'll probably be my way in, writing for other motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I ain't gonna put my foot in my mouth. But as a MC, the fuck no, we not doing that. Cause Drake, the biggest artist in the world, and Kanye and them do it. But I say Kanye a producer, and Drake, he's Canadian.
Right. Right. Yeah, that boy got a machine with him. What's the hardest part about being an underground artist, man? From your perspective, what's the hardest part about this shit, bro?
Telling you, damn, why you ain't know?
Right. Yeah. How does that make you feel like in your travels nowadays and just being, around people, they might hear some music and they get to asking questions immediately, man. Like, what is that like, man? In your everyday life?
It go back to the old days now. It go back to like 30 years ago. When I say that, I say they appreciate it when they hear it. They appreciate it, like, all right, that shit fire, that's dope. Oh shit. There you go. That'll make me write another rap just hearing people say that.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people felt like, brothers was before their time, man, with the music and shit. And that's real. So what are some of the projects that you got popping now and, names of projects, songs, and where people could find these things, man, if they want to come check your music out? You know what I mean?
They can go to the music, the projects I've been working on. It's been thing with my producer, now the Carlo Finney Music. We've been working on this thing called the Finish Movement, but it's more than just an album. It's gonna turn in, like a series of albums. And I've been working for him for the last few years. You can see some of the songs on YouTube. Germ, Skeety, man, 552 on YouTube. And like I say on Bad Lab. And I'm waiting on setting a project out there, a real project. Like I said, I want to see and we could do the the downloads. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm looking at it like I'm finding off old verses now. But like I said, but we stacking to the side. That's why I said it seemed like I'm always finding off. That's what I just say YouTube, because I'm trying to figure out the situation, how to do it all the way correct. Like you said, being an independent artist, now I got a strong producer. Like I said, we got to come with the right songs, because then we got to pick which one to grind and promote.
Right.
You know
who are some of your artists of this new era, or just in recent times, that you rock with right now? You know, some of the artists that you might check for if they drop something, you might check it out.
And this modern time, I say Benny the Butcher, Sauce Walker, down the way, even though he from our town, I want to hear, DX Joe. I want to hear East Coast Mikey Jank,
Right.
Oh, I want to hear MCs that's going really rap.
Right.
I like that it came out.
Right.
It's a feeling about it. Hey, whoever dropping it and come with that new clips don't fire. Raekwon
yeah.
Like spitters.
Right. Okay. Damn right. Lyrics is back, man. Y'all heard it from General Germ, man. So you said YouTube, say your YouTube page once more.
YouTube, Germ Yo Skeety Man 552.
And that's where you can hear a lot of your recent projects and things that you got going on now that you be putting up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Y'all definitely go tap in, man, and check General Germ, man. He got some joints, man. So is there anything that you want to say to the people, man, on Hard Rap Cafe? You know what I mean? And just to the world, you know what I mean, as far as what you got coming up, you know what I mean?
Like I said, be on the lookout for the gods and kings that I've been trying to push and promote. That'll be coming soon. To start with the sweatsuits, trying to keep it moving, the brand and stuff like that. Other than that, new music will be coming. I said at the top of the year, I'll release the real project. And then that'll be the finish moving with my producer, Carlo Finney Music. Other than that, like I said, I ain't gonna pour too much out of the hat. And tell them, if y'all do the music, don't believe y'all too old to do the music, and don't hate on all the young boys. Please leave them young folks alone. Let them young folks make their music. We not gonna sound like the old haters. If you don't like it, drop something that your fan base like, nigga. Stop hating on the babies.
Damn right, man. And with that being said, man, this has been another episode of Hard Rap Cafe. I'm your host, Rocky Dennis. And this week's guest, General Germ, man. We appreciate y'all for tapping in. Salute to everybody, man. And stay tapped in and check for that new music coming up from General Germ. We out.